The stars of the Zetherian Empire glittered like scattered jewels across the vast darkness of space. Among them, the capital world, SciFi-Prime, stood out a shining city of crystal towers, floating platforms, and skies alive with streaks of flying vessels. It was here that the greatest gathering in the galaxy was about to take place, the Interstellar Assembly of Worlds. At the heart of this assembly, all eyes were fixed on Princess Ilara of Earth, a human, a species still new to galactic politics, yet already famous for its ingenuity and daring exploits. Humans were admired for their courage, creativity, and resilience. And Ilara, young and brilliant as she was, carried all of these qualities in abundance. Her ship, a sleek silver craft with the blue glow of human-designed engines, descended into the central docking hub. The air shimmered with energy as alien dignitaries watched. Word of her arrival had spread quickly. Many had already heard stories, how humans had solved crises that had stumped entire worlds, how they had negotiated peace where others had failed, and how their technology, though primitive in some ways, often achieved results that seemed impossible. As Ilara stepped onto the platform, her presence demanded attention. She wore a flowing uniform of deep blue and silver, with the emblem of Earth proudly displayed on her chest. Her dark hair framed a face calm yet full of quiet determination. She carried herself with confidence, not arrogance, but the kind of grace that spoke of intelligence and courage. The crowd began to bow. One by one, alien nobles bent at the waist, knelt, or performed the intricate gestures of respect dictated by their customs. The air buzzed with admiration. Even those who had once doubted humans now whispered among themselves, "She is worthy. She truly is worthy." All except one. From the far side of the Grand Assembly Hall stood Prince Kael of the Drakari. His tall, muscular frame and scaled skin marked him as a warrior of unmatched skill. The Drakari had long been known for their strict codes of honor and rigid traditions. Every Drakari prince had been taught since birth that they bowed only when they truly respected another's strength or lineage. To Kael, humans were newcomers, inexperienced and untested. Bowing to one was unthinkable, so Kael stood, arms crossed, eyes sharp, gaze fixed firmly on the princess. He refused to bow. Ilara noticed immediately. Though she had expected whispers of skepticism, she had not expected a challenge so open and bold. For a moment, their eyes met. There was no fear in her gaze, only curiosity, and a hint of a challenge. Kael felt a flicker of irritation at that look, but also something else, something he could not name. The ceremony continued, yet the tension between the two was unmistakable. Whispers rippled through the assembly. Why does he not bow? Does he not know who she is? Ilara's advisor, a small robot named Luma, hovered at her side. Its spherical form blinked with soft blue lights as it whispered, "Princess, the Drakari prince. He will not show customary respect. This may be dangerous if handled poorly." Ilara smiled faintly. "Every gesture counts, Luma. But some lessons must be earned, not assumed." The assembly concluded with fanfare, and the dignitaries began to disperse. Ilara's first day in the capital was over. But the real challenge was only beginning. That night, from the quiet of her chamber overlooking the city, she studied the data Luma had compiled on Kael. Prideful, skilled, stubborn, dangerous if underestimated. She made a note to herself, "I must understand him, for he will be an obstacle or an ally." Meanwhile, Kael returned to his quarters, his mind unsettled. He had met many humans before, but none like this princess. She was clever. Yes, and the stories were true. Her people were resilient. Yet she was young. Could she truly handle the weight of the Empire's scrutiny? Could she survive its hidden dangers? He did not bow because he did not respect what he did not yet understand. But for the first time, he wondered if that might be a mistake. The next morning, the palace buzzed with activity. Delegates from hundreds of worlds gathered in the central council chamber, each eager to witness the human princess in action. Ilara walked among them, greeting each with polite smiles and gentle nods. She spoke their languages fluently, a skill that fascinated even the most learned diplomats. But it was not mere charm that impressed them. She asked questions that revealed deep insight into their societies, noticed details others missed, and proposed solutions to old disputes in ways that seemed simple but profoundly effective. The assembly whispered in admiration. Humanity, it seemed, had arrived not to follow but to lead. Kale watched from across the room, arms still crossed. He could not deny the skill she displayed. Every word she spoke, every observation she made, highlighted what his people often overlooked. Humans might be young in the galaxy, but they were unpredictable, clever, and fearless. As the day wore on, an urgent message arrived at the assembly. A fleet of unknown ships had been detected near a neighboring star system. Initial scans suggested hostile intent. Panic and speculation spread quickly among the delegates. Alara stepped forward, calm and poised. "We must investigate before acting," she said. "Hasty decisions will only lead to unnecessary conflict. Let us gather information and understand what we face." Her words carried weight. The delegates agreed, entrusting her to lead a small reconnaissance mission. Kale was assigned reluctantly as her protector. Though his pride bristled at being paired with a human, he recognized the necessity. As preparations began, Luma floated to her side. "Princess, sensors indicate that the fleet's technology is unfamiliar, yet strangely advanced. They could outmatch even our best warships if approached carelessly." Alara nodded. "Then we proceed with caution. But humans have faced worse and survived. We will find the truth before danger reaches us." The fleet took off under the glow of the twin suns, streaking across the void. Kale piloted one of the lead ships, his hands steady on the controls. Despite himself, he could not help but notice Alara's calm demeanor. Even with the unknown threat looming, she seemed fearless, thinking 3 steps ahead at all times. During the journey, Kale attempted to speak. "Why do you insist on leading this mission yourself? You are young, untested." Alara smiled faintly, eyes on the stars. "Youth is not weakness, Prince Kale. It is perspective. Humans survive because we adapt, because we think differently. You will see that soon enough." Kale scowled but said no more. Deep down, he realized that underestimating her might be his greatest mistake. As they approached the unknown fleet, strange shapes emerged from the darkness, ships unlike any in the known galaxy. They glowed with shifting colors, their movement precise and unnerving. Luma scanned the fleet rapidly. "Princess," it said, "these ships are advanced, but their formation suggests caution rather than immediate attack. They are observing, not engaging, for now." Alara studied the fleet, her mind racing. "Then we must communicate. We cannot assume hostility without understanding intent. Prepare the translation protocols, Luma." Kale watched, unsure whether her approach was bravery or foolishness. But as she sent the first messages, something unexpected happened. The alien ships halted, shifting slightly as if acknowledging the communication. The tension in the fleet eased, just a fraction. Enough to hint that diplomacy might succeed. Alara turned to Kale. "See? Sometimes, the greatest strength is not in weapons, but in understanding." Kale clenched his jaw. Pride and tradition warred within him. Yet he could not deny the results. Humanity's ingenuity, paired with courage and quick thinking, was something even the most disciplined warrior could not ignore. By the time they returned to GalacticPrime, news of the successful reconnaissance spread across the assembly. Alara was praised for her skill and diplomacy. Kale, meanwhile, found himself facing questions from his own people, who were both shocked and impressed. For the first time, a Drakari prince had witnessed the power of human innovation firsthand. That night, as the city lights shimmered across the crystal towers, Kale stood silently on the balcony of his quarters, staring at the stars. He could still feel the weight of his pride, yet it had shifted. He did not yet bow. But he could no longer dismiss humanity. And the human princess Alara was no longer just a symbol of curiosity or admiration. She had become, in some unspoken way, a challenge he could not ignore. Elara, in her own quarters, looked out at the same sky. She felt the quiet pulse of opportunity. The galaxy was vast, filled with threats and wonders alike. She knew that in order to lead, she must earn respect, not through titles, but through action. And that meant confronting challenges, breaking barriers, and perhaps even reaching the heart of a warrior who refused to bow. And so, as the twin suns set beyond the horizon of SciFi-Prime, two figures, one human, one Drakari, stood under the stars, aware that their paths were now intertwined. One would lead with wisdom, the other with strength, but together, they might change the fate of the Empire. The stage was set. The princess had arrived. The warrior had not bowed, and the galaxy was watching. SciFi-Prime woke under the soft glow of its twin suns. The city's crystal towers sparkled like frozen starlight, and sky lanes filled with ships rushing to the morning assembly. But Princess Elara did not notice any of that beauty today. Her mind was fixed on the strange alien fleet they had seen only hours earlier. She sat inside the council chamber, listening as delegates argued loudly. Some shouted that the unknown fleet should be treated as an enemy. Others insisted that Elara's peaceful approach had prevented a disaster. A few accused the humans of taking unnecessary risks. Elara remained calm. She was used to heated debates. Humans often lived through conflict, and she understood fear when she saw it. At the far end of the chamber, Prince Kale stood with his arms crossed, watching everything with narrowed eyes. The proud Drakari warrior had not bowed to the princess, but he stayed close to her now, even if he pretended it was only his duty. The council leader, a tall insect-like being named Counselor Threx, tapped his staff loudly. "Order! The princess has returned unharmed." "Her report is complete," Threx announced. "But there is something alarming." Lights dimmed. A large hologram flickered to life above the center table. It showed a map of the Empire. Tiny stars glowed like dust. A red zone pulsed on one side of the map. "The unknown fleet is not the only problem," Threx said. "We have discovered secret movements across 3 systems. Someone inside the Empire is hiding information." A shocked murmur filled the room. Elara leaned forward. "Do we have suspects?" Threx hesitated. "Only one clue." He tapped the air. A symbol appeared. It looked like 3 broken lines inside a circle. Kale's eyes widened. "That symbol? It belongs to the Veiled Order." Several delegates gasped. Even the bravest among them looked uneasy. Elara asked, "Who are they?" Kale stepped forward. "They are an old faction. Secretive. They believe only the oldest species should rule the galaxy. To them, humans are intruders. They hide in shadows. They move like ghosts. If they are involved, then the threat is much greater." Elara nodded slowly. "Then we must stop them." The council fell silent. Everyone waited for someone else to speak. Finally, it was Kale who took a step forward, his voice firm. "I will go," he said. Threx turned his head sharply. "Prince Kale, you are already assigned as protector of the princess." Kale looked at Elara. "Then she comes with me." The chamber erupted again in whispers. Many delegates looked shocked. A Drakari prince teaming up with a human princess was something the galaxy had never seen. Elara simply smiled. "Very well. We go together." Their ship left the city shortly after. It was a compact stealth craft, designed to move unseen through space. As they flew toward the region marked in red on the map, the tension inside the ship grew. Kale sat at the controls, silent and focused. His sharp golden eyes scanned every sensor reading. Elara studied the symbol of the Veiled Order on her screen, trying to connect it with any data Earth had collected. Luma hovered between them, its blue lights blinking nervously. "Princess, the Veiled Order has been involved in past attacks on new member worlds. Their methods are dangerous." Kale spoke without looking up. "Dangerous is an understatement." Elara asked, "Do you know them well?" Kale hesitated. "My father once fought against them. They almost destroyed a Drakari colony. They do not attack openly. They weaken planets from the inside. They spread lies, fear, shadows. They strike only when people lose trust. Elara thought about that. Then someone in the council may already be helping them. Kale's jaw tightened. Exactly. The ship landed on a barren moon. Sensors had detected hidden tunnels beneath the surface. According to the map, this moon was uninhabited, but the Veiled Order preferred places no one visited. Elara grabbed her scanner. Kale checked his energy blade. Luma projected a small map of the tunnels. "Stay close," Kale said. Elara smirked lightly. "You stay close." Kale frowned. "I am trained for danger." "And humans survive danger," she replied. He could not argue with that. They entered the tunnels. The air was cold and dry, carrying the faint scent of metal. Strange markings lined the walls, symbols scratched in a hurry. Luma scanned them. "These markings match Veiled Order patterns," Luma whispered. Kale nodded. "We are close." The tunnel suddenly opened into a large underground chamber. Strange machines hummed quietly, giving off a pale glow. Screens flickered with unknown code. At the center stood a tall device, shaped like an arch. Elara approached it slowly. "What is this?" Kale touched one of the metallic plates. "A signal amplifier. They are sending coded messages, far beyond this moon." Elara's eyes widened. "To the unknown fleet?" "Possibly," Kale said. Before they could investigate further, a loud metallic click echoed through the chamber. Kale reacted instantly. He grabbed Elara's arm and pulled her behind a pillar just as a blast of energy shot across the room. Masked figures stepped out of the shadows. They wore dark cloaks and the symbol of the Veiled Order glowed on their chests. The leader lifted a hand. "You should not have come here, Princess of Earth," Elara whispered to Kale. "How do they know me?" "They know everything," he replied quietly. The leader raised a small device. "Capture her," Kale growled, stepping in front of Elara. "You will not touch her." The cloaked figures attacked. Energy bolts flew in every direction. Kale moved like lightning, blocking blasts with his blade and striking with powerful precision. His training was clear, every motion was controlled, sharp, and deadly. Elara stayed low, using her scanner to locate weaknesses in their armor. She shouted, "Kale, aim for the left shoulder plate. It disrupts their shield." Kale obeyed without question. He struck exactly where she directed, and one attacker fell instantly. More attackers rushed forward. Elara hacked into the nearest machine, triggering a bright flash that stunned several enemies at once. Kale looked back at her, surprised. "How did you—" "No time," she said. "More coming." But as they fought, a sudden hiss filled the chamber. A hidden door opened, and a wave of gas filled the room. Luma beeped urgently. "Princess, this gas causes paralysis." Kale's eyes widened. "Hold your breath." But it was already too late. The gas spread too quickly. Elara fell first, her body going numb. Kale tried to reach her, but his legs grew heavy. He pushed forward, refusing to fall, but the leader struck him with an electric staff. Kale collapsed beside Elara. The leader spoke calmly. "Take them. The Order has plans for both." Everything went dark. Elara awoke slowly. Her head hurt, and her hands were bound with glowing restraints. She blinked as the room came into focus, a dim cell with metallic walls. Strange runes glowed faintly around the door. She recognized them as security locks. She heard movement beside her. "Princess," Kale said weakly. Elara turned. Kale was chained to the opposite wall, his armor damaged, his energy blade missing. Even in captivity, he held a strong presence. Though frustration filled his eyes. "Kale, are you all right?" Elara asked softly. "I am alive," he replied. "But I failed to protect you." Elara shook her head. "You didn't fail. They planned this carefully. Anyone would have been captured." Kale did not answer. He stared at the restraints with anger. Elara examined her own restraints. They glowed when she moved, sending a mild shock. They were made of a rare metal humans had never used. But their technology was old. Older than most modern systems, she whispered. "Old technology means old weaknesses." Kale raised a brow. You can break them? With time, she said, but time was not on their side. Footsteps echoed through the hall. The door slid open, and the masked leader walked in. You humans always think you can escape, the leader said. But this time, Princess, you will watch the fall of your world. Elara lifted her chin. Why target Earth? What have humans done to you? You climb too fast, the leader replied. Your ideas, your creativity, you change the balance. The ancient species do not like change, Kale growled. Cowards hide behind shadows because they fear progress. The leader ignored him. The unknown fleet is waiting for our signal. When the Empire falls into chaos, your world will be the first target. Ilara's heart pounded. The fleet. They obey you? No, the leader said. They follow their own purpose, but we can guide them, and your presence is the key. Ilara realized something then. They had not captured her to harm her directly. They wanted to use her, her influence, her importance to spark panic across the Empire. The leader left, and the door sealed again. Kale spoke in a low voice. Princess, Ilara, we must escape. Now. Ilara nodded. I have a plan. She leaned forward as much as she could. She had noticed the rune's earlier patterns she recognized from ancient scripts she had studied during diplomatic training. She whispered words from the old code. The runes flickered. Kale's eyes widened. How do you know ancient Drakari script? Ilara smiled faintly. I learn fast. With each word, the rune dimmed further. Her restraints loosened slightly, but then heavy footsteps came again, several this time. Kale tensed. Princess, hurry. Ilara whispered the final sequence. The restraints clicked and fell open. Kale stared. You truly are full of surprises. Ilara quickly moved to his side. She studied his restraints. These were newer, stronger, but connected to the same rune system. She whispered the same code, modifying the last lines to match Drakari patterns. Kale's restraints snapped open. He stood, towering over her, surprised and impressed. You freed yourself and then me. Why? Ilara looked up at him. Because we survived together, not alone. Kale lowered his head slightly, not a bow, but the closest he had ever come. Before he could speak, the door burst open, and guards rushed in. Ilara whispered, Kale, ready? He smiled, for the first time. Always. They charged forward together. The escape had begun. The dim light of the Veiled Order's underground fortress flickered as Princess Ilara and Prince Kale moved cautiously through the twisting corridors. Their escape had begun, but danger followed closely behind. The air smelled of cold metal and strange chemicals. Every step echoed, alerting the hidden guards to their presence. Kale's eyes scanned the walls, trained to notice traps and ambushes. Ilara, meanwhile, used her scanner to detect security systems and weak points. Their teamwork was silent but perfect, a blend of Drakari strength and human ingenuity. Keep moving, Kale whispered. They will regroup quickly. Ilara nodded. I'm detecting a control room ahead. If we can shut down their system, most of the guards will be disabled. Kale raised an eyebrow. You plan to hack their fortress? Ilara smiled faintly. We have no other choice. They moved forward, stepping lightly over the shadows. As they approached the control room, a soft humming filled the hall. The air grew warmer, and the walls began to pulse with energy. The Veiled Order was alert, they were closing in. Suddenly, a trap triggered. Laser grids shot across the corridor, blocking their path. Kale reacted immediately, leaping with superhuman agility to avoid the deadly beams. Ilara rolled, narrowly avoiding a blast. Princess, step to the side, Kale shouted. Ilara twisted and used her scanner to detect the gaps in the laser patterns. There, follow me. Kale followed her instructions, moving faster than he had ever moved for anyone, not even for his Drakari kin. The corridor ended in a heavy steel door, behind which they could see the faint glow of the control room. Ilara tapped the door with a small device she had hidden in her sleeve. The lock clicked once, twice, and the door slid open. Inside, Dozens of consoles blinked with alien code, each one controlling some part of the fortress. KL stepped inside, immediately on guard. "We must hurry. They will find us soon." Ilara moved to the nearest console. "I can override the security system," she said. "It will give us a small window to escape." Kale watched, impressed. She worked quickly, her fingers flying over alien symbols that seemed impossible to read. He had never seen a human act with such precision under pressure. Minutes passed. Outside the door, footsteps grew louder. The guards were coming. "Almost done," Ilara muttered. "Just a few more commands." A shadow moved behind them. Kale spun, ready to strike, but it was only a maintenance droid. He relaxed briefly, then returned his attention to the door as Ilara entered the final sequence. With a bright flash, the fortress alarms shut down. The laser grids collapsed. The doors sealing other rooms opened. "We have a window," Ilara said. "Move." They dashed down the corridor. Kale took point, his blade ready. Ilara stayed close, scanning for hidden dangers. As they ran, Kale finally spoke. "You are impressive, human," he said. Ilara smirked. "You are just noticing that now?" Kale didn't answer. He was focused, but a small flicker of respect showed in his eyes. They reached a large chamber, a hangar, filled with small ships. One of them looked human-designed. Ilara's eyes lit up. "That's perfect," she said. "It's fast and stealthy. We can use it to get out." Kale nodded. "I will pilot. You guide the way." They ran toward the ship, but the Veiled Order's guards were close behind. Kale swung his blade, striking down 2 attackers, while Ilara triggered a small flash device that stunned the rest. They barely made it to the ship. Ilara climbed in first, quickly taking the co-pilot seat. Kale activated the engines. The ship lifted off the ground with a quiet hum, weaving past incoming attacks. The hangar doors began to close. Kale's hands moved expertly over the controls. "Hold on!" he shouted. With a burst of speed, the ship shot through the closing doors, leaving the guards behind in frustration. Once in space, Kale set a course for the nearest safe system. The stars stretched past them, bright and endless. For a brief moment, silence returned. "You could have been killed," Kale said quietly. Ilara smiled. "So could you. But we survived." 2. Kale hesitated. "I have always believed that humans are too fragile for the galaxy. But you prove otherwise." Ilara glanced at him. "Strength is not just in muscles or weapons. Sometimes it is in thought, courage, and quick decisions." Kale was silent. He had always valued strength above all. Yet here, he realized, strength came in many forms, and humans, Ilara, specifically possessed it in ways he had never expected. The ship passed through a dense asteroid field, dodging massive rocks that would have crushed ordinary vessels. Ilara guided him through, reading the path and calculating trajectories. Kale's jaw tightened as he maneuvered expertly, trusting her directions completely. "You are fast to adapt," Kale said, almost grudgingly. Ilara shrugged. "We have to be. That's how humans survive." Hours passed as they traveled in silence, each contemplating the narrow escape. Finally, Kale set the ship down on a quiet moon far from the Veiled Order's influence. Ilara stepped out, stretching her legs. Kale followed, keeping a watchful eye on the horizon. "We need a plan," Ilara said. "The Order is bigger than we thought. They are coordinating with the unknown fleet. If we do not act quickly, the Empire could be destabilized." Kale frowned. "Then we strike at their heart. I know a location. A hidden base deep within the asteroid belt. It is heavily guarded, but it is where the Order coordinates their fleets." Ilara nodded. "We go together. Strategy and strength combined." Kale looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted inside him. The strict rules of Drakari tradition demanded caution, pride, and separation from outsiders. Yet here he was, standing beside a human princess, ready to risk everything together. "You lead with knowledge," he said. "I will follow with strength. Together, we may survive." Elara smiled. "Then let's prepare. Tomorrow, we take the fight to them." The next day, they traveled to the asteroid belt. Kale piloted the ship through tight spaces between massive floating rocks, showing why Drakari warriors were feared across the galaxy. Elara guided him with her scanners, warning him of hidden energy fields and motion detectors. Finally, they arrived at the Veiled Order's main asteroid base. It was massive, a dark fortress built into the rock itself. Energy shields pulsed around it, and dozens of ships patrolled the perimeter. Kale set the ship down in a hidden crevice, out of sight. "We go in from here," he whispered. Elara nodded. "We must be silent. The moment we are detected, reinforcements will arrive." They crawled through maintenance tunnels, avoiding security cameras and patrolling drones. Elara's knowledge of alien systems allowed them to bypass locks and traps. Kale's strength and reflexes helped them neutralize guards quietly. Eventually, they reached the main control room. Dozens of screens showed fleets, encrypted messages, and star maps. The leader of the Order was inside, monitoring operations. Elara's eyes widened. "This is it. If we shut this down, we can delay their plans." Kale placed his hand on her shoulder. "You go first. I will cover you." Elara nodded, working quickly at the consoles. She bypassed the encryption, sending false commands to the fleet and disabling shields around the asteroid. Every move was precise, calculated, and bold. Outside, guards realized something was wrong. Alarms blared. Kale's eyes narrowed. "They are coming." Energy bolts flew through the corridors. Kale fought fiercely, taking down guards while protecting Elara. Despite his pride, he relied on her guidance completely. Minutes felt like hours. Elara finished her work, sending commands to scatter the fleet and disable the base's defenses. Kale looked at her, awe in his eyes. "You did it. Humans are remarkable." Elara smiled faintly. "We work best together." They fought their way back to the ship, dodging reinforcements. Kale used every skill he had, every tactic his people had taught him. Elara used her cleverness to guide them through the maze of corridors and traps. Finally, they launched from the asteroid base. Alarms blared behind them. Explosions shook the fortress as their commands took effect. In the safety of space, Kale finally lowered his head. Not in bowing as tradition demanded, but in a gesture of respect. Elara looked at him, realizing that he had finally acknowledged her as an equal. The fleet of the Veiled Order was scattered, their plans delayed. But both knew the battle was not over. The unknown fleet still loomed, and the Order would regroup. Kale spoke quietly. "Princess, I misjudged humans. And I misjudged you. You are more than I expected." Elara smiled, placing a hand on his arm. "Thank you, Kale. Together, we will face whatever comes next." For the first time, Kale felt a sense of partnership, not just duty, not just tradition. With Elara by his side, humans and Drakari together, they were a force no one could easily defeat. And as they looked out into the vast galaxy, the stars seemed brighter, filled with possibilities. The shadow of the Veiled Order had been pushed back, but the real test, the future of the Empire, was only beginning. The stars stretched endlessly across the void as Princess Elara and Prince Kale's ship sailed back toward SciFiSaga. The battle with the Veiled Order's fortress had left both of them exhausted, yet a quiet satisfaction filled the cabin. For the first time, they had truly worked as equals, combining human ingenuity and Drakari strength to succeed against a cunning enemy. Kale stared out the viewport, arms crossed, deep in thought. His pride still whispered warnings, but it had softened. He had seen humans and Elara herself face danger with courage, cleverness, and determination. Respect had replaced doubt. Ilara, sitting beside him, tapped her fingers lightly on the console. "The order may return," she said. "We've delayed them, but this isn't over. We need to prepare the Empire for what's coming." Kale's eyes narrowed. "And we will." Together, the ship entered the orbit of SciFi-Prime. The twin suns cast long shadows across the city, making the crystal towers glow like firelight. Below, the Council awaited their return. Word of the defeat of the Veiled Order's fortress had spread quickly. The delegates whispered excitedly among themselves. Some could hardly believe that humans and Drakari had achieved what they just had. When the ship landed, a crowd gathered, their anticipation palpable. Ilara and Kale stepped out, side by side, ready to face the assembly. For a moment, silence fell across the chamber. Every delegate's gaze was fixed on the two who had defied danger together. Ilara spoke first, her voice clear and steady. "Honored delegates, the threat from the Veiled Order has been delayed. Their plans for chaos have been stopped for now. But the danger is not gone. Together, we must prepare, unite, and strengthen the Empire." A murmur of agreement passed through the assembly. Kale stood beside her, silent but commanding respect, simply by his presence. Councillor Threx, the insect-like leader, raised his staff. "Princess Ilara, Prince Kale, your actions have saved the Empire from imminent disaster. You have shown courage, intelligence, and skill. The Veiled Order's influence has been weakened because of your efforts." Delegates applauded. Ilara bowed slightly, the first sign of humility in her proud, calm demeanor. Kale did not bow, not yet, but he stepped forward in recognition, placing himself firmly beside her. Whispers passed through the room. "The Drakari prince stands with the human princess. History is being made." Even so, one shadow remained. A figure in the corner of the chamber observed silently a rogue diplomat from the Veiled Order, whose escape had been unnoticed. His eyes gleamed with malice, a reminder that though victory was theirs, the struggle was not entirely over. Ilara noticed the figure, but she did not falter. "We will remain vigilant," she said. "The Empire must not fear shadows, for light is stronger than darkness when we face it together." Kale finally spoke, his voice low but firm. "I have judged wrong in the past. Humans are not weak. And Princess Ilara, you are not just a leader. You are an equal. Today, I recognize your strength fully." The assembly paused. Delegates whispered among themselves. The Drakari prince's words carried weight. His people were known for honor and pride. If he recognized someone as an equal, it meant something profound. Ilara turned to Kale, a faint smile on her lips. "Thank you, Kale. It matters more than words can say." For the first time, Kale inclined his head slightly, not a bow as tradition demanded, but a gesture of respect that meant even more. The weeks that followed were busy. Ilara worked tirelessly with Kale and other delegates to strengthen alliances across the Empire. They met with representatives from dozens of worlds, forming plans to counter future threats and ensure communication between planets. Everywhere they went, humans earned recognition not merely as newcomers, but as capable leaders. Ilara's diplomacy, combined with Kale's demonstration of strength, inspired admiration across species. Together, they created a symbol of unity, human innovation supported by the might of an honored warrior. During these weeks, Kale observed humans in ways he had never done before. He saw their persistence, their creativity under pressure, and their ability to adapt in ways even Drakari warriors struggled to understand. Ilara, in turn, learned from Kale not only about combat, but about discipline, strategy, and tradition. Together, they became a team, one that was impossible to separate. One day, while reviewing plans for a defensive strategy on a floating city, Ilara paused. "Kale, do you ever regret not bowing to me when we first met?" Kale considered. "No," he admitted. "I was proud, stubborn, blind in many ways, but I am glad I did not bow then. It forced me to see your strength for myself, not just your title." Ilara smiled. Then it worked out for the best. Kale allowed himself a small, rare smile. Perhaps. The city's holographic map flickered as they plotted fleet movements, showing a web of alliances that reached across the galaxy. It was impressive. But even as they worked, both knew that peace was fragile. The Veiled Order's influence lingered, and the rogue diplomat remained at large. Ilara looked at the map, her dark eyes thoughtful. "We cannot fight shadows forever," she said. "We must turn enemies into allies where possible, prevent conflict before it begins. Strength alone is not enough." Kale nodded. "Then, we combine strength and wisdom. You lead with thought. I defend with action." A grand ceremony was held in the central plaza of SciFi-Prime to honor their achievements. Delegates, citizens, and warriors from across the galaxy gathered. Ilara and Kale walked together across the stage. Every eye was upon them. One by one, leaders bowed to the human princess. Most were eager to show respect, some cautiously curious. And then, the moment that many had anticipated. Kale, the warrior who had refused to bow on their first meeting, stepped forward. He did not kneel or touch the ground. Instead, he extended a hand toward Ilara, not in subservience, but in acknowledgement. Ilara accepted it. A silent gesture that spoke louder than words. The crowd gasped, then erupted into applause. The gesture symbolized not only mutual respect but a new era for the Empire, a future where species could collaborate as equals, regardless of tradition or pride. For the first time, Kale truly understood what Ilara had been teaching all along. Respect must be earned and given freely, not demanded or assumed. Ilara spoke to the assembly. Today is not only a celebration of victory, it is a celebration of unity. The galaxy is vast, full of wonder and danger, but if we work together, humans, Drakari, and all worlds alike, we can face any challenge. The delegates cheered. Even the most skeptical species found themselves inspired. The message was clear. The galaxy had changed. Luma hovered nearby, blinking softly. "Princess, the Empire now sees humans as leaders, not newcomers. Your actions have set a precedent." Ilara nodded, looking at Kale. "And it was not my action alone. We did this together." Kale's voice was low but firm. "And together, we will face whatever comes next." As the ceremony ended, Ilara and Kale walked through the crowd, exchanging greetings and words of encouragement. They passed families, young warriors, diplomats, and citizens who had never met a human before. Each smile, each nod, reinforced what they had accomplished. Above them, the twin suns of SciFi-Prime began to set, casting long, golden light across the plaza. The city seemed alive, shining with hope. For humans, for Drakari, for the entire Empire, the future felt wide open, but in the shadows, a single figure watched. The rogue diplomat from the Veiled Order remained at large, his eyes glittering with intent. Ilara noticed him briefly but said nothing. For now, the galaxy had won a victory, but vigilance would always be necessary. Kale followed her gaze. "He will not give up," he said. Ilara smiled faintly. "Neither will we. And next time, we will be ready." Together, they turned toward the horizon. The stars above shone like scattered jewels. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and challenges. But for the first time, humans and their allies felt not fear, but hope. Ilara's heart swelled with determination. The Empire would not bow to fear. It would rise, guided by courage, wisdom, and cooperation. Kale's presence beside her reminded her that even the strongest warriors could learn new ways, that even centuries-old traditions could evolve. For the first time in history, humans were not just newcomers. They were leaders. And the princess who had arrived with quiet confidence had changed the galaxy forever. And somewhere in the distance, the Veiled Order regrouped, planning their next move. But for now, the light of unity, courage, and innovation shone brighter than the shadows. Ilara and Kale stood together, gazing at the stars, ready to face whatever came next. The Empire had a new era ahead, one where humans and allies would rise, side by side, stronger than ever. The galaxy was watching, and for the first time, it believed in humans.